The Generals of the Yang Family, Chapter 46.
Imagine you are an ancient border guard. Like you've trained your entire life for one very specific, very brutal reality, right?
Right. It's all you know.
Exactly. You know how to hold a spear. You know how to lock your shield with the guy standing next to you.
You understand the basic physics of war.
Yeah. The trajectory of an arrow, the grim mathematics of attrition. But then today, you march out onto the field and the sky suddenly, unnaturally just turns pitch black.
Oh, that would be terrifying.
Right. The temperature just plummets. And the enemy commander who is, charging toward you doesn't just draw a sword. He literally splits into 49 shrieking shadow-like demons.
Moving way faster than humanly possible.
Exactly. And I mean, your training manual definitely didn't cover this. The basic laws of physics that you relied on to keep you alive have just, well, they've been suspended.
It is the absolute collapse of military doctrine.
Right.
I mean, when the fundamental rules of reality are just shattered on the battlefield, bravery becomes entirely irrelevant.
Because what can you even do?
Nothing, really.
Yeah.
You are no longer fighting an army at that point. You're fighting this sudden, terrifying realization that you understand absolutely nothing about the universe.
Wow. Well, we're diving into an incredibly thrilling, action-packed Chapter 46 of the classic Chinese historical fiction, The Generals of the Yang Family.
It's quite a read.
It really is. And listen, if you're expecting a standard, dry, chronological list of troop movements and, supply lines, throw that expectation right out the window.
Yeah, because the source material we were examining today possesses this brilliant, almost whiplash-inducing dual nature.
Whiplash is the perfect word for it.
It really starts as this deeply grounded, cynical geopolitical thriller. We are talking war room debates, strategic deterrence, political hubris.
Like an ancient house of cards.
Exactly like that. But then, without any warning, it violently pivots into dark, supernatural horror.
The shift is just staggering to read. I mean, it goes from a political thriller straight into a total nightmare.
It does.
This story isn't just about magic for the sake of, cheap spectacle.
Not at all.
It's a literal masterclass in the dangers of underestimating your enemy. It's about the catastrophic consequences of ignoring the variables that just don't fit neatly into your spreadsheets.
Precisely. It provides such a fascinating lens into the psychological realities of ancient siege warfare. Plus, there's the crushing burden of generational legacy.
Which is huge in this text.
Right. And it shows how classical literature used literal magic things like weather manipulation, illusions, dark incantations as a profound metaphor for the true, paralyzing terror of facing an unknown enemy.
So, to understand how you end up on a frozen plain facing down a horde of shadow demons, you have to look at the bureaucratic arrogance that put those soldiers there in the first place, right?
Oh, definitely. Every disaster begins with a meeting.
Right. So, let's go to the war room of the Data Kingdom, which is also known as the Western Xixia. Set the scene for us.
Well, the geopolitical landscape here is extremely tense. The inciting incident for this entire narrative isn't a border skirmish. It's actually a massive shift in the balance of power.
Okay, what kind of shift?
The Song dynasty, which is this massive agrarian empire to the south, has just successfully conquered Yuzu.
So they are on the move.
They are. They are rapidly consolidating their power, and the northern tribes are either being pushed back or just absorbed into the central plains.
Which has to be making their neighbors nervous.
You'd think so. But King Laimu of the Western Xia looks at this shifting map, and rather than feeling threatened, he somehow senses an opportunity.
Wait, really?
Yeah. He convenes a high-level council with a very specific, aggressive agenda. He basically says, now is the time to attack the Song.
Which just immediately seems totally counterintuitive. I mean, the Song dynasty is expanding. They are actively absorbing territory.
Right, they have momentum.
Yeah. They are clearly on a hot streak. And King Limu's takeaway is, let's poke the bear.
It is a staggering leap in logic.
It feels like a massive miscalculation right out of the gate. But he isn't totally in an echo chamber, is he? Like, he does have voices of reason in the room.
He does. Specifically, his left minister, a man named Xixia. And Xixia represents the ultimate voice of pragmatism here.
So Xixia is kind of the anchor to reality in this scene.
Exactly. He represents the classical, cautious school of statecraft. So he steps forward and delivers this warning that is heavily anchored in traditional wisdom.
He drops a proverb on the king, doesn't he?
He does. He quotes this proverb saying, if a thing can be done and you do it, then success is easy. But if it cannot be done and you force it, regret will be too late.
Regret will be too late. Man, I love the polite, veiled language of ancient courts.
It's very precise.
Yeah, because that is essentially the courtier way of looking your sovereign right in the eye and saying, are you completely out of your mind?
It is very diplomatic, but the subtext is incredibly sharp. Xixia proceeds to meticulously dismantle the king's logic just by breaking down the geopolitical reality.
Okay, how does he do that?
He points out that the Song dynasty isn't just expanding. They are experiencing a period of immense, unified strength.
So they aren't some fractured coalition fighting among themselves.
Right. Their territories are seamlessly connected, their supply lines are incredibly robust, and they have an entire apparatus of brilliant strategists and fierce generals.
He even gives a brief history lesson right there in the council chamber, right?
He really does. He reminds the king that ever since the Jin and Han periods, the northern tribes have always, historically speaking, feared the Central Plains when they are unified.
Because historically, that's when things go bad for the north.
Exactly. And under the current Song emperor, they have been practically wiping out any northern neighbors who exhaust themselves trying to wage war.
So Xixia is trying to explain the concept of strategic deterrence here.
Yes, beautifully. He's saying the Song dynasty doesn't even need to mobilize an army against us to defeat us.
Their sheer size is the weapon.
Right. Their economic output, their recent string of victories, that is the deterrent. Xixia literally uses the phrase, playing with fire.
Oh.
He warns that if they mobilize their armor and weapons now, they are only going to anger the Song emperor, drawing the full unified wrath of a superpower right to their doorstep.
It's a desperate plea for self-preservation, basically. I mean, Xixia is looking at the board objectively and saying, the math doesn't work, we will lose.
The math absolutely does not work.
And objectivity is a really tough sell when you have a guy in the room pitching a glorious, effortless victory.
Which brings us to the warmonger.
Yin Qi.
Yes, Yin Qi is the complete antithesis of Xixia. Before the pragmatist can even fully embed his warning into the king's mind, Yin Qi steps up and completely flips the narrative.
He just shuts it down.
He argues the exact opposite of caution. He tells the king, why are we waiting? The time to strike is right now.
And his justification is honestly wild. I mean, he claims that the Song border is actually incredibly weak, right?
He does. He says the border guards are cowards who will just scatter the second they see a signal fire.
But the linchpin of his entire argument, like the core piece of intelligence he bases this massive invasion on, is his claim that the Song's greatest generals are dead.
Right.
He specifically names Yang Xixia.
Yin Qi tells King Li Mu the Middle Plains generals and soldiers are withered.
Withered.
Yes. He genuinely believes and forcefully argues that the entire institutional strength of the Song Empire is entirely dependent on a handful of famous individuals.
Just a few guys holding the whole thing together.
That's his view. Because Yang Xixia, who is a legendary figure of the Song military, has passed away, Yin Qi assumes the entire military apparatus has just crumbled.
Wait, I have to challenge that logic. So his entire business plan for an invasion is based on one guy being dead. That's like a startup deciding to attack a massive tech giant just because their visionary CEO retired. Like, oh, the founder stepped down. Great. Let's take over their entire global market share tomorrow.
It is a massive leap.
Isn't that insanely risky? It totally ignores the thousands of engineers, the infrastructure, the momentum of the machine.
Well, it sounds absurd to our modern understanding of institutional continuity, sure. But we have to contextualize this.
Okay, fair. Contextualize it for me.
Yin Qi isn't just being foolish. He's misapplying a very real historical dynamic from that era.
Oh, really?
Yes. In eras built heavily on cults of personalities and localized martial leadership, removing a visionary founder or a legendary general actually did often collapse an empire.
Ah, I see. Because the loyalty was to the person.
Exactly. Armies were frequently loyal to the man, not the abstract state.
Okay, so he's looking at the Song dynasty through the lens of a tribal or localized military structure, where the warlord essentially is the army.
That's it, exactly. But his critical blunder is that the Song dynasty is highly bureaucratic. It's a well-oiled institution.
So they don't rely on just one guy.
No. Yin Qi's hubris is a classic military failure. He is confusing a specific, highly emotional vulnerability, like the death of a beloved hero, with total systemic structural weakness.
He thinks pulling out the keystone will collapse the arch.
Right, not realizing the Song have already mortared the rest of the wall. It's solid.
Yet he stands there and promises the king the world. I mean, he says that with his own skills, he can make the border towns disintegrate just with the noise of his marching army.
It's an incredibly bold claim.
He literally promises to march right up to the imperial city and win the whole empire in one battle, a one-hit knockout against a superpower.
And King Li Mu, who clearly suffers from massive confirmation bias, is completely swayed.
Of course he is.
He wants to believe Yin Qi because Yin Qi is telling him exactly what he wants to hear, that conquest will be fast, cheap, and glorious.
So the king just goes for it.
He immediately appoints Yin Qi as the commander-in-chief of the southern expedition.
Which naturally leads to a massive question. Who exactly is Yin Qi? Like, why does the king trust him so implicitly?
It's a great question.
Because if you are going to hand over your entire foreign policy, your treasury, and your military apparatus to a guy promising to topple an empire in a week, he can't just be a good public speaker.
No, absolutely not.
He has to have something terrifying backing him up.
And he does. The text provides a very specific profile of Yin Qi. He is not a standard classically trained general. He is a King Di warrior.
Okay, tell me about the King Di.
The King Di were historically nomadic and mountain-dwelling peoples. They were often viewed by the agrarian Central Plains as fierce, unpredictable, and culturally alien.
So he brings a totally different style of warfare.
Yes. The text notes Yin Qi wields twin massive poleaxes, which require immense physical strength, and he is described as having the courage of 10,000 men.
But I mean, physical strength alone isn't enough to guarantee the fall of a dynasty.
No, it isn't.
And here is where the text takes that sharp left turn we talked about. Here is where the math we were discussing gets thrown completely out the window.
Exactly. Yin Qi possesses a nickname, Yin Taisui.
Taisui, what does that mean?
Taisui is a complex, astrological, and mythological concept in Chinese culture. It's often associated with a powerful, dangerous deity of the year.
That sounds ominous.
It gets worse. Because more importantly, in the context of this story, Yin Qi possesses the literal magical ability to summon wind and rain.
He controls the weather.
He controls the weather.
I mean, we went from a totally grounded debate about border security, supply lines, and the psychological impact of losing a general straight into, oh, by the way, our new commander-in-chief can literally call down a localized hurricane.
It is a profound escalation in the narrative. And the thing is, Yin Qi doesn't operate alone.
Right, he gets to pick his team.
Once given command, he is allowed to assemble his vanguard. Now, in ancient warfare, the vanguard is the tip of the spear.
They are the shock troops.
Exactly. They're the first to make contact, the ones who set the psychological tone for the entire invasion. To lead this vanguard of 100,000 troops, Yin Qi appoints a man named Shu Tianxian.
And if controlling the weather wasn't enough of an escalation, Shu Tianxian's nickname in the text is literally the Black Devil Lord.
Yes. He brings his own brand of dark magic to the battlefield.
The text explicitly notes that he can create 49 distinct illusions or transformations of himself, right?
49, yes. Yin Qi also appoints vice vanguards, named Wang Wen and Wang Hu, and an array commander named Zhang Zhao.
But the real heavy hitters are Yin Qi and Shu Tianxian.
Absolutely. The narrative weight rests entirely on them. They represent a supernatural threat marching alongside a massive conventional army.
And they march out of the western Xia with 100,000 troops heading straight for the Song border city of Jiangsu.
The text uses a really evocative poem right here to describe their march.
Oh, I remember that.
It says, bleak, bleak, the killing aura blocks the red sun, the sound of gongs and drums rumbles like thunder.
Man, it's so ominous. So we have this terrifying, reality-bending army of 100,000 soldiers marching toward the border. They are a vanguard of anomalies.
And this brings us to the walls of Jiangsu.
Right. The Song border city that has the profound misfortune of being the first point of contact.
Yushang's is a classic fortress city. It's designed to be the hard outer shell of the empire.
But even a hard shell can crack.
Oh, definitely. The Western Xi army arrives and sets up their camp just 10 miles south of the city walls. And inside Jiangsu, we are introduced to the leadership.
Commander Qi Qin and his general, Deng Wen.
Yes. And they are immediately forced to confront a stark, uncompromising reality.
Let's talk about the mathematics of doom here, because the numbers are rough.
Very rough.
Yin Qi has brought 100,000 troops. Commander Qi Qin does a head count of his garrison. He has exactly 4,000 defenders.
4,000 against 100,000.
Yeah.
That is a 25-to-1 disadvantage.
That's grim.
In any era of warfare, those are completely unsustainable odds for an open field engagement.
So what's the standard playbook there?
The standard military doctrine for odds like that is universally agreed upon. You close the heavy wooden gates, you pull up the drawbridge, you man the walls with archers.
You conserve your grain.
You conserve your grain, and you pray that a relief force arrives before you literally starve to death.
The commander, Xixia, understands this perfectly, doesn't he?
He does. He is understandably panicked. He's looking over the parapets at just a sea of enemy tents, and he states the obvious, our forces are too weak to fight.
But his general, Deng Wen, steps up and makes a decision that defies all logic.
It really does.
Deng Wen says, don't worry, we'll leave half the men 2,000 to guard the city. I'll take the other 2,000, along with cavalry officer Zongbao, and we will go out and face them on the open plain.
It is a breathtakingly poor tactical decision.
It's insane.
It genuinely borders on military malpractice.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. I really want to unpack this, because Deng Wen is willingly walking out of a fortified position with exactly 2% of the enemy's strength.
2%.
That is not a battle strategy. That is a cinematic last stand. Is he suicidal? Is he stupid? What is the psychology behind throwing away your absolute only tactical advantage, your walls?
It connects right back to the hubris we discussed in the war room, but this time it's infecting the song side.
Oh, interesting.
Deng Wen is not suicidal. He is suffering from a fatal over-reliance on institutional reputation. He is riding the coattails of his empire's broader brand name.
The brand name of the Song dynasty.
Exactly. When Deng Wen rides out with his tiny force, Yin Qi rides forward and yells at him to surrender immediately or be trampled into the dust.
And Deng Wen's response is incredibly telling.
Yes. He points his spear and says, the great Liao was so mighty, and yet we destroyed them. Your Western Xixia can't even guarantee its survival from morning to night, and you dare to dream of the Central Plains.
He's literally trying to weaponize history. He's saying, do you know who we are? We beat the Liao. We are the Song.
He genuinely believes that the aura of past Song victories is enough to intimidate an army of 100,000 men.
He thinks his reputation acts as a physical shield, like the enemy will just turn around out of respect.
Exactly. He expects the Western Xixia troops to just cower and lose their nerve simply because they are facing the banner of the Song.
But that's not how swords work.
No, it isn't. He fails to realize the most brutal truth of warfare. Historical victories do not deflect iron axes. Reputation doesn't stop a cavalry charge.
And the reality check he receives is immediate and brutal.
Very brutal.
Shu Tianqian, the Black Devil Lord, rides out to meet him. Now, crucially, Shu Tianqian does not use his magic here, right?
He doesn't need to.
Right. He just hefts this massive iron axe, and he engages Deng Wen in single combat.
They fight for about 30 rounds, and the text specifically notes that Deng Wen's spear technique begins to grow chaotic.
He's getting tired.
He's losing his stamina, he's losing his form completely, he is being thoroughly outmatched in purely conventional physical combat.
He brought historical arrogance to a knife fight, basically.
And he is losing. Now, seeing his commanding officer floundering, the Song cavalry officer, Zongbao, realizes the danger.
So Zongbao jumps in.
Yes, he spurs his horse forward, waving his blade, attempting to turn it into a 2-on-1 fight to save Deng Wen.
But Shu Tianqian doesn't flinch. He just fights them both simultaneously.
He does.
And then Yin Qi, the commander who can literally summon storms, who has been quietly watching this entire pathetic display from his horse, he decides to end it.
He calmly pulls out a bow.
He draws back the string, takes aim, and fires a single arrow. And he shoots Zongbao dead right off his horse.
On shot, 1 kill.
Just boom. The psychological impact of that single precise arrow is devastating, isn't it?
It instantly shatters the illusion of Song invincibility. Deng Wen sees his cavalry officer killed instantly, realizes his historical rhetoric has failed completely, abandons the fight, and just turns his horse to flee back toward the safety of the city walls.
But you can't just casually retreat from 100,000 people.
No. This retreat triggers an absolute massacre.
Yin He just waves his massive army forward. The 100,000 troops surge like a tidal wave over the 2,000 retreating Song soldiers.
And by the time Deng Wen makes it back across the moat and through the gates of Jiangsu, half of his men are dead.
1,000 lives lost in a matter of minutes. Entirely because of his arrogant assumption that his empire's resume would fight for him.
Exactly.
And now the Western Xia army completely surrounds Jiangsu. The siege has officially begun.
The atmosphere inside the city violently shifts from unearned arrogance to sheer suffocating panic.
I can only imagine.
General Deng Wen orders the gates bolted tight, the drawbridge raised, and he has to go report back to Commander Xixia.
He has to eat a lot of crow.
He has to admit that his gambit failed, the enemy is vastly superior, and Zhao Mao is dead.
Commander Keen is terrified. He looks at the remnants of his garrison and says, "They are many, we are few, we cannot resist."
The mathematical reality has finally set in.
He realizes their absolute only hope is to beg the capital for salvation. So they quickly draft a desperate plea to the Privy Council for emergency reinforcements.
And here we get a brilliant glimpse into the agonizing, slow-motion reality of ancient communications.
Oh, yeah. This part is wild.
Because they cannot just send an encrypted radio transmission.
No emails, no texts.
They have to physically send a human being through an active siege line.
Which is basically a suicide mission.
Pretty much. They select a messenger and send him out in the dead of night. The text describes the rider breaking out like a shooting star, heading south toward Bianjing, the imperial capital.
You know, I always try to put myself in the shoes of the people left behind in the city during that wait.
It must have been excruciating.
Right. You are trapped behind cold stone walls. You can literally hear 100,000 enemy soldiers outside, sharpening their weapons, lighting their campfires.
Your general just got publicly humiliated.
And lost a quarter of your entire fighting force in 10 minutes. And your absolute only thread of hope is one single guy on a horse sneaking out a side gate in the freezing dark.
Hoping he doesn't hit a tripwire or get spotted by a patrol.
Exactly. And then he has to ride for days just to deliver a piece of paper. The psychological weight, the absolute paranoia of that waiting period must have been unbearable.
It is the ultimate test of psychological endurance.
Yeah.
You are completely isolated, physically disconnected from the safety of the empire.
You don't even know if your message got out.
You don't even know if your messenger made it through the enemy lines. He could be lying dead in a ditch a mile away and you would never know.
So you just wait.
You just sit on the walls, watch the enemy fires burning in the dark, and wait for starvation or a breach.
But the rider does make it. He rides like a shooting star, exhausting horses, pushing himself to the absolute brink, and delivers the terrifying news to the Privy Council in Bianjing.
Yes.
And this shifts our scene from the bloody, muddy, desperate gates of Changzhou to the pristine, opulent, but suddenly panic-stricken halls of the imperial court.
The arrival of this news completely shatters the tranquility of the capital.
The emperor is informed immediately.
Emperor Zhenzong is briefed by his close ministers, and his reaction is immediate, visceral shock. He says the Western Xixia invading while we are vulnerable is truly a great disaster.
I find it really interesting how quickly the emperor panics.
How do you mean?
Well, he doesn't delegate this to a mid-level bureaucrat. He doesn't say, oh, just send the local provincial reserves to deal with it.
No, he doesn't.
He immediately convenes an emergency council of his highest civil and military officials. He recognizes this instantly as a Tier 1 existential threat.
Because the emperor, unlike Deng Wen, understands exactly what Yin Qi is trying to exploit.
The bottleneck.
Exactly. The Song dynasty is vast, yes, but its borders require constant, vigilant defense. A fortress city like Shanzhou is basically the cork in the bottle.
And if it pops?
If a massive 100,000-strong force punches a hole through Shangzhou, the path to the capital, the soft underbelly of the empire, is dangerously open.
So it can't mess around.
He cannot afford a slow response. He needs a definitive solution, and he needs it instantly.
And right on cue, a minister Chai Yu steps forward. He tells the emperor, I can recommend one person who can absolutely repel the enemy troops.
A very bold promise.
The emperor, who is clearly desperate, asks who it is. And Chai Yu drops a name that carries more weight, more baggage, and more historical gravity than almost any other in this lore.
He certainly does.
He says the hero of 3 generations of a military family, the grandson of the Golden Blade Lord Yang, the current Metropolitan Inspector, Yang Zongbao.
Yang Zongbao.
Yeah.
This is truly the crux of the narrative's emotional and thematic weight.
It's a huge moment.
Because this isn't just about finding a good tactician. This is about invoking a legacy.
Chai Yu assures the emperor that if Zongbao leads the troops, victory isn't just possible, it is guaranteed.
And the emperor is overjoyed.
He immediately grants Zongbao 50,000 troops. He gives him the grand title of Commander-in-Chief of the Western Expedition.
He sets him up for success.
Right. He assigns him seasoned deputies, Huayan Xian and Huayan Da, with Zhu Fu and Lu Min as his vanguards.
Notice how rapidly, how seamlessly the state machinery operates when it needs to extract value from the Yang family.
It's instant.
The emperor doesn't hesitate for a second to throw massive resources, 50,000 troops, at this young man. He completely ties the fate of his entire empire to the reputation of one family.
And that brings us to what I genuinely think is the emotional core of
The farewell.
It's the moment right before the march. Because before Zongbao can take command of those 50,000 men, before he can march north to face the demons, he has to go home.
He has to see his grandmother.
Yes. He visits the Warning Mansion to bid farewell to the matriarch of the family, Taijun Lady Shi.
This scene is incredibly poignant, and it really operates on multiple levels.
Can you explain the background here a bit?
Of course. The Yang family, within this literary tradition, represents the ultimate tragic embodiment of absolute loyalty to the state.
Tragic being the key word.
Very tragic. The men of the Yang family historically do not die of old age in their beds. They die violently in battle.
Over and over again.
They're often betrayed by corrupt officials. They are frequently outnumbered. They're repeatedly sacrificed for the geopolitical needs of the empire.
So the amount of generational trauma localized in that one mansion is just staggering.
It really is.
Zongbao walks in to tell his grandmother that he is leaving for a war, and Lady Shi's reaction is so foreign to a modern understanding of grief.
She has a breakdown.
She doesn't cry. She doesn't beg him to stay. She doesn't curse the emperor for taking yet another one of her boys.
No, she remains perfectly stoic.
She looks at him, completely composed, and quotes his dead father's dying words. She says, "I remember your father's final words. While the country has wars, you must be completely loyal to the cause you serve."
While the country has wars, you must be completely loyal. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's profound.
How so?
It is not a suggestion. It is an absolute, uncompromising command. It leaves zero room for personal desire, zero room for self-preservation, and zero room for fear.
So what does this all mean for Zongbao psychologically?
The psychological pressure placed on Zongbao in this single moment is immense. He is being told, essentially, that his life does not belong to him.
It belongs to the state.
It belongs to the state, just as his father's life did, just as his grandfather's life did. He is merely a vessel for the family's duty.
Let's really think about what this means for Zongbao in the context of this specific war.
Okay.
He is a young man carrying the ghost of his grandfather, the legendary Golden Blade Lord Yang. He is carrying the ghost of his father, Yang Xixia. And here is the brutal irony. Yang Xixia is the exact man whose death Yin Qi cited back in the war room as the reason the Song were weak.
That's a fascinating connection.
Right? Yin Qi told the Xia king, Yang Xixia is dead, we can invade. And now, Xixiang's son is the one being sent to stop him. It is deeply, unavoidably personal.
It creates such a fascinating dynamic. Zongbao isn't just fighting for the borders of the Song dynasty. He is marching out to physically refute Yin Qi's thesis.
He has to prove his family isn't dead.
He is marching out to prove that the Yang legacy did not die with his father. So Zongbao replies to Lady Qi. She simply, "The military situation is urgent. I must take my leave."
And Lady Shi's final piece of advice. She tells him to assess the situation carefully and not let fall the prestige of your ancestors.
Don't ruin the family name.
I mean, talk about pressure. Just go out there, fight an army of 100,000 men led by a guy who controls the weather, and make sure you don't embarrass your dead ancestors while you do it.
A light afternoon errand.
Exactly. But Zongbao doesn't flinch. He accepts this massive, crushing burden, heads to the training grounds, rallies his 50,000 troops, and marches out.
And he is marching straight into a brutal, unforgiving winter.
Right.
This sets the stage for the next phase of the conflict. The logistics of a winter march in ancient China were devastating all on their own.
Just keeping the men alive on the road.
Exactly. The text notes that it is December. The freezing north wind is howling. The ground is rock hard.
The author actually inserts a very bleak, haunting poem right here in the narrative to set the mood.
I love when texts do this.
It reads, "The wild geese coming north sound tragic. Travelers heading west fear the endless road."
It acts as a chorus, really, setting a tone of deep foreboding. The natural world itself seems to be mourning the soldiers, warning the Song army of what lies ahead.
The journey is harsh.
The weather is freezing, and the destination is steeped in blood. Yet despite the conditions, they march aggressively.
Zongbao is a good leader.
He is. Zongbao's leadership is highly effective. They managed to reach the theater of war and set up camp at a place called Yaku, which is just 15 miles from the besieged city of Xiangzhou.
The moment they arrive and plant their flags, something fascinating happens in the enemy camp.
The dynamic completely shifts.
Yin Qi, the confident warmonger, the commander who can summon hurricanes, The guy who convinced his king that the Song military was a withered husk. He suddenly changes his entire tune.
He gets very nervous.
His scouts report back that the banners on the approaching army read Young Zongbao.
And the name alone violently shifts Yin Qi's strategic calculus.
He knows who he's dealing with.
He realizes immediately that his initial assessment was flawed. He gathers his generals and delivers a very serious, very uncharacteristic warning.
What does he say?
He says, "I have long heard this man is the eldest son of Xixia, brilliant in both civil and military affairs.
Okay.
Back when the Heavenly Gate Array was breaking, it was all due to his deployment. You must not underestimate the enemy. You must apply yourselves carefully."
This is a massive tell. Yin Qi was perfectly happy to dismiss the entire Song bureaucracy, but the brand name Yang makes him slam on the brakes.
He respects Zongbao's reputation immensely.
He explicitly mentions the Heavenly Gate Array. For context, the Heavenly Gate Array was this massive, legendary, incredibly complex tactical puzzle that Zongbao managed to solve in previous lore.
It was his defining victory.
Right. So Yin Qi recognizes that he is no longer fighting an arrogant fool like Deng Wen. He is fighting a prodigy.
He is basically telling his men, the boss has arrived, no more messing around.
Which is smart. Yin Qi is exhibiting a rare moment of lucidity and caution, but ironically his warning falls on deaf ears.
Completely ruined by the culture of overconfidence he himself built.
Oh, that's such a good point.
His vice vanguards, Wang Wen and Wang Hu, step forward and exhibit the exact same hubris that Yin Qi displayed back in the war room.
They are infected with it.
They really are. They completely dismiss Yin Qi's caution. They tell their marshal, "You don't even need to go out. Just give us a few men, and we too will easily slaughter and push back this Song army."
It is a stunning display of insubordination masked as bravery.
It's foolishness.
So Yin Qi, perhaps to teach them a lesson, or perhaps just hoping they are actually right, gives them 20,000 elite troops.
And the next day, they march out.
Right, out on the frozen plains, Wang Wen and Wang Hu line up their formation, bang their drums, and demand a battle.
They look out across the frost and see the Song army approaching. And the text describes the Song formation as moving like birds flying and clouds gathering.
Meaning what, exactly?
It implies immense discipline, fluidity, and overwhelming numbers. They aren't just a mob, they are a machine.
Zongbao rides to the absolute front of his lines, and he immediately takes the moral high ground, demanding to know why the Western Xia are invading and killing innocent lives.
And Wang Hu, arrogant to the bone, replies that Jiangzhou used to belong to them, so they're simply taking it back.
Zongbao is furious at the sheer audacity of this, so he asks his lines who will take the first ride.
Who wants first blood?
Exactly. His deputy, Huyanxian, charges out with his spear and attacks Wang Hu. They engage in a fierce duel for 30 rounds.
Standard conventional combat.
That's right. Seeing his brother locked in combat, Wang Wen jumps in with his own spear. But the Song aren't fighting fair either. Huyanda, the other Song deputy, charges in from the flank with his axe.
It turns into a chaotic, violent melee. But very quickly, Wang Hu's strength begins to fail.
He can't keep up with the Song deputies.
No, he turns his horse and runs. Huyangjin chases him furiously across the plain.
And Zongbao, who is watching from the rear, sees the enemy formation buckle.
He sees the opening.
He immediately waves his flags and orders the main force to advance.
It is a brilliantly executed tactical surge. Zongbao waits for the exact moment the enemy's morale wavers, and he hits them with overwhelming force.
Wang Wen sees the tide turning, realizes they are completely outmatched, and he flees as well.
The Song forces completely rout the 20,000 Xia troops.
It's a total collapse. From the walls of Shangzhou, Commander Qi Qin sees the Xia army breaking, realizes relief has finally arrived, opens the east gate, and rushes his men out to catch the retreating Xia in a pincer.
It is a massive, crushing, textbook victory for the Song.
They slaughter the fleeing troops, and Zongbao calmly pulls his victorious men into the safety of the city.
A perfect execution of conventional warfare.
Okay, I have to stop the narrative here and push back on this.
Okay, why?
Because as a reader, as a listener, isn't this a little too easy?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right. We spent the entire first half of this story hyping up this terrifying supernatural enemy. We have the Black Devil Lord who can split into 49 demons.
We have Yin Qi who summons hurricanes.
We have an existential threat to the Empire. And this great Song army just shows up, does a standard cavalry charge with some spears and axes, and wins the first major skirmish without breaking a sweat.
Feels anticlimactic.
It feels like a bait and switch.
Well, your suspicion is entirely justified. And it highlights the brilliance of the narrative structure here.
Okay, lay it on me.
This victory is a deliberate, false sense of security designed by the author. It serves two purposes. First, it demonstrates how reputation dictates the flow of battle.
Like we saw with Yin Qi getting scared.
Right. Wang Wen and Wang Hu fell victim to their own overconfidence and decided to fight a purely conventional battle against Yang Zongbao.
Which is dumb because Zongbao is a master of conventional warfare.
Yeah.
If you play a standard game of chess against a grandmaster, you're going to lose.
Exactly. But the second purpose of this victory is much more sinister.
Oh.
The Xia army's true strength, as we established, isn't conventional. This initial defeat is the necessary catalyst. It is the friction that unleashes their real terror.
Wait, really?
Yes. The Song army now believes the Xia are easily broken. They believe their tactics work. And that belief is exactly what the enemy needs to spring the trap.
The hubris flips back to the Song again.
Precisely. Which brings us to the most horrifying sequence of the Black Devil Lord's trap, where magic decimates the Song. Okay, let's get into it. Wang Wen and Wang Hu run back to the Xia camp, completely defeated, their forces scattered. They report back to Yin Qi and tell him, basically, you were right, the Song troops are too fierce.
Yin Qi is absolutely furious.
Oh, I bet.
He yells at them, if you can't even beat a few Song soldiers, how do you expect to take the Central Plains?
Fair point.
He is so angry at their failure that he grabs his weapons and declares he's going out to fight Zongbao himself.
But before Yin Qi can mount his horse, Shu Tianxian, the Black Devil Lord, steps in front of him.
The heavy hitter steps up.
He tells the marshal to sit steady. He says, watch me. I will make the enemy retreat immediately.
And notice, Shu Tianxian doesn't ask for 20,000 men.
No.
He doesn't ask for a massive formation. He just tells Yin Qi he will handle it personally.
So the very next morning at dawn, Shu Tianxian rides right up to the walls of Shangzhou, basically alone or with a very small retinue, showing off his martial prowess, twirling his halberd, and demanding a fight.
And inside the city, the psychological state of the Song army is dangerously elevated.
They are riding high on the dopamine of yesterday's easy win.
They feel invincible. They hear the challenge, a cannon shot rings out, the east gate opens, and Deputy Huan Xin and Vanguard Zhu Fu ride out.
And they are full of absolute confidence. They are shouting insults, calling Shu Tianxian a rebellious, ugly thief, and threatening to wipe out his entire clan.
They are completely tragically blind to what they are facing.
They think this is just another Wang Hu. They think this is just another guy with an axe.
Shu Tianxian, though, pretends to be enraged by their insults. He spurs his horse and charges at Zhu Fu with his square sky halberd. Zhu Fu meets him with his blade. They clash, the sparks fly.
They fight for a few intense rounds, but here's the critical, fatal maneuver. After testing Zhu Fu's strength, Shu Tianxian abruptly turns his horse and flees back toward his own array.
He fakes a defeat.
The feigned retreat. Now, you and I know, and anyone who studies military history knows, that is one of the oldest, most dangerous, most heavily documented traps in the history of warfare.
The Mongols built an entire empire on it.
William the Conqueror used it at Hastings. It is day one of tactical school. Do not chase a retreating enemy into unknown territory.
It is a widely known tactic. But knowing about a trap intellectually and resisting the visceral urge to spring it in the heat of combat, those are two very different things.
Zhu Fu is just drunk on the previous day's easy win.
His blood is up. He sees the enemy commander fleeing, and he wants the glory of the kill.
So he ignores doctrine.
He takes the bait completely and chases Shu Tianxian right into the jaws of the enemy formation.
And the moment Zhu Fu is isolated, the moment he is pulled deep enough into the array away from his support, the trap springs, and reality just shatters.
Shu Tianxian stops running.
He turns his horse around. But he doesn't raise his halberd. Instead, he begins chanting a dark incantation, which the text refers to as a heterodox verse.
This is the exact moment the genre violently shifts.
Imagine you're Zhu Fu. You think you are winning a standard physical sword fight. You're chasing a guy down, ready to end the battle. And suddenly, the guy you are chasing stops, starts chanting in a language you don't understand, and the sky above you literally breaks open.
The environment turns on him.
The text says a massive, unnatural gale erupts out of nowhere. It is a howling, shrieking wind. Flying sand and rolling stones are whipped up from the frozen ground, tearing through the air, completely blinding the Song troops.
The environment itself becomes an active, aggressive weapon.
We talked earlier about sensory deprivation. This is the ultimate execution of it, isn't it?
It is. The physical blinding by the sand and stones is terrifying enough. It instantly destroys unit cohesion, communication, and situational awareness.
You can't even see your own hands.
The soldiers cannot see the man next to them. They cannot hear their commander's orders over the wind. But the physical storm is just the setup for the psychological killing blow.
The magic. Half up in the pitch-black, swirling sky, countless illusions of the Black Devil Lord suddenly appear.
It is no longer just one guy on a horse.
There are 49 demonic versions of him, shrieking in the wind, diving through the dust, surrounding Xufu from every conceivable angle.
The panic is instantaneous and total. Xufu is absolutely horrified. The cognitive dissonance is simply too much to bear.
He realizes, a fraction of a second too late, that he has ridden into a nightmare.
His training has failed him. His assumptions have failed him.
He frantically tries to turn his horse around to desperately flee back toward the city, but there is no escape.
None at all.
Amidst all this magical chaos, amidst the swirling illusions and the blinding, agonizing sandstorm, the real Shu Tianchen calmly turns his horse around.
He charges right through his own manufactured storm.
Invisible in the chaos, and he drives his square sky halberd right through Xufu's chest, knocking him off his horse and killing him instantly.
The sudden, violent death of the vanguard commander is the final straw. It shatters whatever shred of discipline the Song army had left.
They just break.
They are completely routed, blinded, terrified by the screaming demons in the sky, and leaderless, they are slaughtered by the Xia troops who are prepared for the storm.
It's fish in a barrel.
The casualties are catastrophic. Wei Yanxian, the deputy who was so arrogant and brave just the day before, panics completely.
He abandons his men, barely manages to hack his way out of the storm, and flees back towards Jiangsu, literally screaming in sheer terror for the guards to pull up the drawbridge.
And Shu Tianchen chases them right to the edge of the moat, fully maximizing the psychological terror before calmly turning his horse and riding back to his camp.
It is a total horrifying massacre. Wei Yanxian runs bleeding into the command center inside the city and breathlessly reports to young Zongbao exactly how Yufu died.
He tells him everything.
He describes the black sky, the wind, the demons, and Zongbao, this brilliant tactician, the hero who solved the legendary Heavenly Gate Array, the man carrying the crushing weight of his legendary ancestors. He's completely, profoundly stunned.
Zongbao's reaction is incredibly telling. He listens to the report and exclaims, "The West unexpectedly has such weirdness."
Such weirdness. I love that phrasing.
He is a master of strategy. He can calculate supply lines, flank maneuvers, and troop morale. But what does a grandmaster do when the opponent flips the board and changes the rules of gravity?
You can't out-tactic a hurricane of demons.
Exactly. He is looking at a situation where his entire framework for waging war has just been invalidated.
He is so shaken that he literally asks the room of his surviving officers who dares to lead troops out to face the array again.
He has no plan. The math doesn't work anymore.
He is essentially asking, how do we fight something that isn't bound by reality?